I've never had.
Have your attention, please. So we're getting back to the event, and thank you very much, gentlemen. This has been very good. I'm really impressed with all of you. This is great stuff. There's a theme that's been going around as we've done these, and I'm going to start with one of these. Do you agree? How did do? Okay, I like what this is stated. Do you agree with the $50,000 Healthy Community Initiative Fund? And if so, how would you allocate or distribute it? And let's start at the other end. Let's start with Robin.
Let me first say the answer is no. And the reason why the answer is no is too many people have told me they are concerned about it. It's the approval process that's the problem. Having councillors distribute the funds, it is an issue. I don't mind the idea of the Healthy Community Initiatives, but I think it should be run at arm's length. I don't think, personally, when I'm elected, that I should have any say in it, other than that it gets spent in Ward 7. So there should be a committee, one that's responsible for hearing presentations from organizations. The most important question I would have if I was on that committee, what have you done? How much money have you raised? What is it for? And what are the plans? And how can I help you as the counselor? I will not help you get the funds, but I will sit with you. I will help you with your presentation. I will help you prepare your PowerPoint or whatever else you need to get what you want. But the funds will be distributed by the committee. I have no percentages to go to different populations. Whoever needs the funds should apply. And then we should be hearing how much they have raised and what they have done and where it is going. That's what's important. That way I have no say, and it doesn't look like a slush fund. It looks like a healthy community growth fund. It's important. There has been great things done with it, and I agree that those great things should continue. The only stumbling point, I don't want to have a say.
Thank you.
I very much appreciate your response there, Robin. I do not agree with the way the HCI funds are currently administered. As a counselor, I think you want to have the least involvement with where the money goes, because then there's no issues with transparency or openness. Our ward is very unique. We have 4 distinct communities. Capriol is a wonderful community, has wonderful organizations, and they do so much for the area. Garson has more population. At the end of the day, these funds are our tax dollars. So we need to make sure that they're distributed equally. We shouldn't be seeing gross amounts of money going to any one place. But to be more specific on how to distribute the money, I think we can follow the example set by the City of Hamilton. They have a participatory budgeting process that they follow, and their ward slush funds, if you want to call them, are, hold on to your hats, $1 million a year. They have a 4-step process where community groups bring their ideas to the city and the budgeting group. Those ideas are vetted and approved for viability, and then all of those projects that are viable get put to the people, the taxpayers, the voters, to vote on what projects they think should be put forward in the coming year. And an actual vote is held, and that is how we decide where the money is spent. What an amazing idea. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Let's look for some help from our neighbors from the south.
Thank you.
I think that these slush funds should be put to better use. Maybe putting into some kind of a reserve fund in case of overruns or what have you. 50,000 a year, you'd be hard pressed to put down, say, 100 feet of sidewalk. Where we have 12 wards, that's a total of $600,000. And now you can do something with $600,000. I can't think of too much more to add to it. It's just It seems like an awful waste of money for very little return. Thank you.
We do have a common theme here too, because I agree with the healthy community funds. I violently disagree with the way it's done, and I've already made arrangements that if I am reelected, it'll be completely handled by the leisure staff, which is where it was, by the way, 7 years ago. The funds have actually been in place for probably over 30 years. There used to be in the city of Greater Sudbury, they had a 10-ward system, and it was actually $70,000 at that time. And the monies were made available to the ward councillors through staff to ensure that monies were spent equally throughout the city. So that all your money didn't end up at Bell Park, or all your money didn't end up being spent at James Jerome Park. It was a way of ensuring that parks within the entire city were looked after, and that's the way it should be operating now. There is a process, and it's about a 12-page document. When applications come in, they go to an admin assistant. She takes a look at them, and they see if they fit the bill. The one thing I do agree with Mike to some extent is that it's on an application basis. It's not by any part of the ward. I do like the idea as well of Hamilton, and there's a couple of others that boroughs in Toronto have got a very similar system. The only thing I would like to see, if we're going to do it, I think the money still has to stay within the ward, so that you can guarantee that parks or whatever projects get done within the ward that the money is allocated to in the first place. Thanks.
This is the only topic I ever make a comment on, because in a way I always smile when I hear about this. We look at things, and when you look at the $50,000 versus the $500 million, you're trusting your councillors with $500 million, but you're really upset about the $50,000. So that's 0.01% of the budget. So it's kind of interesting. But it's the little things that bug us, isn't it? It really is. Starting with Mr. Jacobo on this one. Are you aware of the assisted living project in Cape Real? And should funds become available, would you wholly support this project?
Thank you for the question. It is something that I have become aware of in my time here spent in Cape Real since the middle of July. I've had the pleasure of attending the current seniors residence, which is a wonderful facility that's 25 years old and still in amazing shape. They do a great job running it. And there is adjacent property there that is already started to be developed, has services in, and is owned by the corporation, which is a charity, and is paying property taxes on it to the city. But in 2012, there was a resolution passed by City Council, February 28, 2012, that said that the seniors assisted living project in Cape Real would be the highest priority of council. And that doesn't seem to have been the case. We have great fundraisers here in Cape Real, twice a year dinners that are put on. Lots of attention has been brought to the assisted living home, and what they're asking for is money for grant money, as well as money from the province that does come the way of the city and does have to get funneled through there. So what we do need is we need to have some attention brought to that, because this group has been ready to go pretty much since 2009. And so it's been that long that the project's been waiting. And there is a need for that level of assisted living in this community, but it can also benefit other communities in the northeast region of the city. In Garson, we do have a demand for that as well. Maybe not so much assisted living, but seniors residences, maybe some geared to income. That would be a component of this Cape Real Senior Living Complex as well. So it's a project that we need to make a priority, as council said.
Thank you. Mr. Cruz.
Unfortunately, I haven't been really made aware of it yet, because I haven't been all through Cape Real yet. We should be looking also for help for the seniors. is getting a little bit tough for them. We have to get some help for our younger kids. They're starting to leave the city because there's just no jobs available.
I'm sorry, Mr. Cruz, but the question is about the assisted living building.
Oh, okay. We should be pumping some money into this to help the people that need the help. I can't think of anything else at the moment.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think it's important to put perspective back on some of the things that we're talking. Michael mentioned that the assisted living organization's been ready since 2009. They were not ready in 2010 when the last time the money came to the table. And there's documentation out there to cover that. I have talked to them. We've had 3 meetings with the city to try and move things forward. And I believe that they are ready now. They lost out to Walden on the last round of funding that was done about 4 years ago. And at that time they were in position to be the next on the list, and they are next on that list now. That motion was passed in 2012, but there were criteria that went with it. If they are ready now, and if the paperwork is all done, money should start flowing right after January. And if all those things are in place, I'm certainly 100% behind it, and will vote in favor of it. Thank you.
Mr. Kilbrook, can I ask you a question? Just to clarify things. When you say the money is there, are we talking about the provincial government, or are we talking about the municipal government?
No, municipal, all this money that we're talking about actually funnels from the federal government to the
Okay.
provincial government
Thank you.
and through. They've started off by giving us $800,000 about a month and a half ago to be spent over 5 years. That money was allocated to try and assist people that are already in homes to ensure that they stay in homes. But we expect, we don't know for sure, but we expect another $4 to $5 million to be announced in
I
January.
just want the audience to know that we weren't talking about the city funds. And rebuttal, okay, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, did you not?
Like, well, maybe I missed. Okay.
Maybe I wasn't there.
I was almost glad there. No. Okay, so the assisted living project is something I've heard tale of, and it's something I do know a little bit about, and it's something that is very important. It's good to know that they are ready and that the funds are there. So how can we help them? How can we stand with them? How can we make sure this is pushed forward? It is the safer place for people to be is in assisted living. We must get them there. We must help them because they still want a good quality of life, but all they need is a little help. I think we should provide that for them. It's also going to create some open houses, likely, which means new families to Caperel or the area. I like this idea. We need some kids, we need some young blood, and we need some people to buy the houses that will come up to refill our ward again. And that's the biggest thing. Let's keep attracting people. And how do we attract people? If we provide buildings like this for assisted living right in our backyard, that not just Caperel, let's face it, Falconbridge or any other, but people can come here. I'm all for it, because it keeps you in the community so that your family can visit you and you can still get to the grocery store and everywhere else in the city and be vital members that I see and talk to daily, because you have a lot to offer our youth. And I think we would probably be better off if we listened a little more to you as well.
I hope you were going to rebuttal him a while ago. No.
I hope so. Yeah.
Mr. Jacobo.
Yeah, I actually want to build on some of what you just said, because Robin said it is going to build community, and what it is going to be is a community inside of a community, allowing people to stay in touch with family right here in Caperel, and if they are not in the assisted living, should it be, then they can move there and you can stay within the same complex. The other things that this project would bring are 26 full-time jobs, 10 part-time jobs. So we talk about job creation. We also talk about doctor space that would be made available in that building. Something that I know Caperel has been missing the last couple of years. So this project has a lot to offer, and I think if you talk to the people that were involved with the process from the get-go, they would tell you that they were ready before 2012.
it's my turn to say good job, Mike. Because I'll tell you why. Synergies, okay? These are relationships that grow. So by adding that doctor's office, we've just done two things at once. What if we added a learning center for the seniors, or like the Parkside Rec that's downtown at the Y? Now we've done three. Synergies. Don't think of one thing at one time. Think how we can include everything, as many things. Pull them all together. That makes something much better than the original plan. It goes back to my idea of thinking and listening to people. You just never know where that idea comes from. That's a great one. Bring the doctor's office. Let's add a learning center, and let's add some other things along with it to provide a building that is great for 25 or more or 50 years that does more than one thing.
Now, this is an interesting question because some of you may not know what it's about. So I'm just going to do the preamble to it. The city has thousands of computers, and they have hundreds of types of software. And every time you load a piece of software in a computer, you have to pay a license. So this question is, with rising costs of software and their licenses, would you support using open source software in order to save on licenses and on software purchases? Who wants to tackle? Anyone want to tackle this? I'm just going to open this one up because it's kind of an unusual question. Dave?
I spent a lot of time up in IT in the city, mainly because of things I mess up. The issue on the table is one that has been discussed around the city, and the only concern is they have actually been talking to Google. They've been talking to Open Docs as far as using it instead of Microsoft Word. The issues are the reliability of the software and also the security behind the software. It's easy to say that things like Google may be free, but when you get to the size of the information that is required for the city, all of a sudden it's not free anymore, and the costs become almost equivalent to what you're paying by putting your own servers in. So, I think all these things are being looked at, but the security is of paramount importance.
It's up to you, Council. I do.
You guys want to flip a coin?
I never win. I got the 4. Were we not there for that? Okay. I do know about open source software security. Okay, now we're talking about a little bit of an interesting issue. Privacy. So we've had a number of viruses that have attacked major companies with millions of dollars to provide security so people don't get in them. Guess what? It happened. Credit card numbers, ID, information got stolen from these companies. It worries me. I'd rather resort to one application, invite an analyst along to work with our IT. What business solutions are out there that are being provided that we could use? I don't want my information out there, and I don't think anybody else does. It's very important in this day and age to keep your information as secure as possible, because it only takes 2 minutes to take that information, and your name is going to show up in Denmark as Lars Alderich, and you are going to lose a lot of money. And then you're going to spend years to replace that and to fight it. It's not worth it. It's scary. I'm not supporting open source because there's too many questions, and I do not want anybody's information open for anybody. Okay?
That was a definite no, by the way, in case you didn't get that.
Yeah, and I think we're all in agreement here that of the utmost importance is the security of all of our personal information, and the city has a lot of it. So any system that has security risks, I think that raises a lot of red flags. If we're talking about the software system that the city's currently using or not utilizing to its full productivity, and now it's 12 or 15 years old, that's a whole other issue that we need to address to get a system that is productive and interfaces well between different departments so that we're gaining as many efficiencies as possible.
That was kind of a neat question. I like that one. question, what is happening with the motorsport park that's supposed to go in at the airport?
I'm related related to this in two ways. Well, number one, being on the airport board, but also being on GSTC. The motorsport park was brought together a few years ago by a group of sporting enthusiasts. I don't know if I can get this done in a minute, 2 minutes. Anyway, and they were very, very enthusiastic. They did a lot of work of trying to move it forward. They came up with some plans. They got a grant. They came up with some plans that were very extravagant, somewhere in the vicinity of $17 million. But it was going to be everything: 12 months a year, motorsport, mud bogs, skidoos in the winter, ATVs, a circle, the drag strip, everything that you could possibly think of, including a drive-in theater. It was slated to be in one of the quadrants of the airport. Parking and getting into it was a bit of a problem. So they've been talking to the people out at the racetrack, because most of the amenities are already there. You've got part of the oval, you've got the grandstand, there's lots of land. The major problem there is you would have some sort of noise restrictions. Anyway, getting a $17 million project is not something that you want, not something that anybody would want to do when you're 5 or 6 just average people off the street. So what has happened is GSTC thought it was Greater Sudbury Development Corporation, by then, thought it was a good enough project. What they've done is they've taken it in, they formed a committee against, including most of the people who are there, but some professionals from within the city. It just got started about a month and a half ago. They've assigned a staff to it, and they are pushing to try and get funding for it, to move it forward.
That's pretty good. Less than 2 minutes. I'm impressed. Anyone else want to speak to this? Comment? Go ahead.
Yes, I have been made aware of the motorsport project, and did check out the website, and everybody should. It's a location that they had selected, which was on the northeast corner of to the northeast of the airport. A good location. There's already a lot of noise going on there, so you wouldn't have a lot of issues with noise restriction. It was my understanding this project was fully costed out, with a full report printed, 30 or 40 pages long, with all the details, and that they were looking just for funding, grant money, and I don't know if they were requesting support from the city, but there was a lot of private backing as well. And so that brings something else up, which is the idea of public-private partnerships. To get facilities like this off the ground, that's something that we need to look a little bit more at. We have a lot of big businesses in Sudbury, and a lot of them would be very interested in seeing a project like this to fruition, whether it's a motorsport park or whether it's a new OHL arena. And we need to be more open-minded in the way we look at these, the development of these projects and getting them off the ground and running.
Thank you.
The gentleman who was heavily involved sent us all an email, and I did read it. And I do agree that 17 million is a lot of money. And I think perhaps scaling back is in need. You can build good things without spending a lot of money, and it can include as much as you can. But the problem is 17 million is a lot, and they're going to take a long time to do so. So I'm glad Dave said we're working with them to help boost them up, to form committees, to give them the power to get to the money that they need. But I will say this, there will be difficulty at the Downs. I worked there, and I know dealing with the person who owns it is just about impossible. So, I don't think it's going to go there. Let me tell you, I've worked there.
Let that pass, you know that, eh? I just let that one pass.
Oh,
Okay.
you let that one pass?
I let that one pass.
Okay, I've worked there for 15 plus years. It's been an interesting relationship, and I don't think it would fit there. And I would say that as long as we're working with them, and if we can boost them up to get to where the money is, I'm all for it. I'll buy a ticket and I'll go watch along with everybody else.
Thank you. Mr. Bruce. You're lucky, that's why I said let it pass.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I think this is a great idea. We tried to set something like this up in the early 60s. but nothing was supplied. We ended up drag racing on Turner Avenue.
That's right.
That's not conducive to good health, I don't think. Another thing with Motorsport Park like this here, we'd eliminate some of the road racing that's going on now. You take a look, Falconbridge Highway, speed limit 60 kilometers an hour. If you're doing 75 kilometers an hour, you're holding up traffic. Get them out to a drag strip, have a racetrack. We used to have stock car racing here way back a long time ago. We should also look at going as a joint venture with the city and this outfit that wants to put it in. Thank you.
I have to add this, we had stock car racing at Hurricane Park in Blizzard Valley, and we used to drag race back in Millnet at 2 o'clock in the morning, so yes.
Exactly.
Another thematic question. Do you support a permanent auditor general position? And I'm going to allow only 1 minute for this, okay? And who wants to start with that one? Let's, David.
You had the ace.
I'm going to make this plain and simple. I do support 100% the Auditor General's position with the City of Greater Sudbury.
Thank you.
I definitely agree with Dave. We should have a permanent Auditor General here. They get more of the inside scoop than all of us on council could possibly get. And they could lead council or suggest to council what are some of the things that can be done. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm also 100% in support of a permanent office of the Auditor General. This is an office that works independent of the city, fully independent of the city and council. And the Auditor General's role is to select a body of different projects to examine the city's processes. Is the city staff and management following the set policy that they put forward? And the process is supposed to be interactive. The auditor issues his report, and then the city departments are supposed to give their feedback as to whether or not those reports, they agree with those reports and what their action plans will be. Right now, the majority of the reports that come from the Auditor General, some of them aren't even looked at by the departments, and the ones that are, a majority of the recommendations are declined, or there's no active feedback provided by the city departments. So it's not just enough to say that we need a permanent office of the Auditor General. We need to really adopt the whole idea of an office of the Auditor General and participate in that project to make the city more efficient and save us tax dollars.
1 minute.
Yes. As an auditor, I understand what a good audit can bring. It can create efficiencies. You will not only look at dollars on a piece of paper, you will look at the processes. And what you discover in those processes is often duplication or processes that are no longer necessary. They have been there for 10 years and we no longer have to do them. An audit isn't about pointing out just you are bad. It's to boost you up to find and help you develop ways to solve the issues. So yeah, the auditor is very important, and it should become permanent, because I know we will discover things in those numbers and in those processes that have bogged the city down and have not allowed business to work with us.
Stay there. I have the answer to the other question right away.
Ooh.
The next question is, do you support bringing back the Ontario Ombudsman?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, let's. He works. And I know he can be a little tough, but that's good. We want to know what's wrong, and we pay for him with our taxes. By hiring another company to come in and run them through and find out issues, that's not the way it should be. He is there to provide us with information that we can use, and he is a very important office. He has an important office that we should invite back, and we should figure out how best to work with him. And so the answer is yes.
Thank you.
Yes, we do need to bring the ombudsman back. As Robin pointed out, we do pay for the ombudsman through our personal taxes that we pay to the province. And so we are already paying for it. By hiring a third party to do that investigation, it's only a $300 a year retainer that we're paying. It's not the dollar value that is the point. It's the principle of not accepting criticism and not knowing how to accept criticism and know how to move forward. We need to do that as a council, and we need to do that as city staff. The ombudsman may have rubbed some people the wrong way, but he's a public figure, and we need to respect him, and we need to respect his recommendations. We need to know and have an independent body to see what's going on in private meetings and make sure that the basis for those private meetings are justified.
Thank you.
I definitely agree on this point. We should definitely return the provincial ombudsman and not waste our time and money with some American outfit. As I said earlier, we need somebody to look into these things that council is looking and doing. We need some help for this city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kilgore.
Let me start off by saying that I believe the role of the ombudsman is extremely important. I do not, however, support bringing back the current ombudsman under the current person that is there. And I'm going to be very straight and blunt about it. Number one, the people we do bring in are Ontario people. As a matter of fact, some of them are local people that are qualified to come in and do it. The problem that I have with the current ombudsman for the province of Ontario is he is trying to build a tower for himself. He has come in, and not all of them in the last term, but over the last dozen years or so, they've been at least 12 complaints that they have, and he has to act on complaints that come in. So there have been 12 complaints. To the best of my knowledge, not one of those complaints was there any fault found with the city of Greater Sudbury or the way things were done. All of our meetings right now are being taped and they're available, so you're meeting in closed meeting, but the answers are still there if questions need to be asked.
Thank you.
Okay.
Interesting question, trick question. What's up with you, Mr. Bruce? Who is your first loyalty to, your ward or City Hall?
I would have to say priority would be to the ward first and foremost. Second would be the city. We have to work with the city has to work with us. But my concern would be first place is the ward. Thank you.
Our current system that we have for electing officials elects us on a ward basis. So it is the people of the ward that will elect us, and it is the people of the ward that we need to serve. That being said, I think the question probably was meant to say the ward or the city of Greater Sudbury, not City Hall.
It's at City Hall. It's a region question.
Okay. Well, if it's the ward versus City Hall, my allegiance is 100% and 110% to the ward before City Hall.
I told you it's a trick question.
But if it's more meant how I'm understanding it, being the ward versus the city, my priority is the ward. But in, I would say, 75% of cases, what is best for the ward is best for the city of Greater Sudbury, and what is best for the city of Greater Sudbury is also best for the ward. We need to work together.
Thank you. Mr. Rosie.
So, the allegiance lies with the ward. The people who elect you are the most important. So let me listen to you, and let me figure out how to talk to the city so that it becomes a city issue. So by listening to you and figuring out ways how to speak to the other councillors, how to amalgamate totally with them, to understand what makes them tick, so they understand what makes me tick, so that we grow the wards, but along, as well as doing that, when we grow the wards, we will grow the city. So let's link our projects together. Let me go knock on the door of the next wards close to me. What do you want done? This is what I want done. Can we do it together? Synergies again. Doing two things at once will accomplish more than looking at one thing at once.
Thank you.
I think we all agree we're elected in the ward, and I think your first allegiance comes to the ward. However, I think we have a flaw in the city system, and we should have some of our councillors that are elected at large, because the danger of being so concentrated in your ward is that you are not aware and not cognizant of the things that are happening on the major level, and it's the things that happen on the major level that are going to make this city grow. So I would be a proponent that, well, while I'm very, very strong on the wards, I think we have to come up with a system where there's 3 or 4 or 5 councillors that will be working and elected at large to look at big picture.
Just looking at the time we have too, and I want to get to some of the heavier questions. This one here is, what is your vision for the city in the next 4 to 10 years, and how do you see Ward 7 fitting into that division? Mr. Roger. Repeat the question. So what's your vision for the city in the next 4 to 10 years, and how do you see Ward 7 fitting into that vision?
My vision for the city is once again coming back to the amalgamated council, which means we are all working together to grow the city as one. Growing up in a ward system has created problems. We were Caperel, they were Chelmsford. We all then got amalgamated. We were still Caperel, they were still Chelmsford. So we grew disjointedly. We didn't look at each other. We didn't go knock on each other's door. We just looked after each other's ward. So I agree with Dave. We need to have those councillors at large. So my vision is working together. In the next 4, 10 years, we will then become one. We will grow the city properly. We will grow the city proper. We will attract businesses using some of my plans. And by doing that, we'll develop bedroom communities. Caperel will grow because people will come here because they need affordable housing. They will go to Skeet because they need affordable housing. And as soon as people come, you know who comes next? Business. And when business comes, then all is good again. We will all grow together if we grow the city as one.
Thank you.
I've got a webpage that is starting tomorrow morning. It'll be on the live, just dakilgore.com. One of the things you'll see on the thing is Sudbury has such tremendous potential, and we have to make it happen, but we've got to do it together. 20 years from now, if we can get through the next term of council so we start working together again, Sudbury's got amazing potential with all of the things that are happening in Sudbury right now between Amherst and Semi, the way the mines are opening and looking at new properties, the way that we're moving ahead with the School of Architecture, the way we're moving ahead with the School of Medicine, and Laurentian University is growing leaps and bounds. The issue that I think we really have to take a look at is what's in it for the Ward 7 area. And if you take a look, Sudbury Airport is growing at a faster rate than almost any other airport in Canada, and more to come very, very shortly. Ministry of Natural Resources is almost doubling their size as we speak. If you take a look at the strip of Ward 7, it completely surrounds Lake Wanapitei. And as we move a little adjacent to the side of that, the only parts of Sudbury that have not been super explored and developed by mining companies are the areas north of Caperel and on the North Rim. And those are the areas that are going to be start moving forward over the next 20 years. What we have to do is get our damn act together, start working together to ensure that we get everything else that comes with that. And that's the business, the refineries, and everything that moves forward.
Thank you very much.
I'm always very brief for some reason. what we have to do as councillors, work together. Some of the infighting amongst some of the councillors is not conducive to good work. It's doesn't look good on them. It doesn't look good on us. As Mr. Kilgore says, we have all kinds of potential just north of here. As it is right now, Ward 7 is the biggest ward in the whole city, land-wise, and very little of it is being used. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, we do need to move forward in the next 4 to 10 years. We need to work together. That means an open lines of communication, between council and senior staff, open lines of communication between senior staff and frontline staff, and open communication between City Hall and the residents of Greater Sudbury. I see Greater Sudbury as being a city where hopefully when my kids grow up and graduate from a fine institution that we have, whether it be Laurentian or Cambrian or Boreal, that they will have a job here that they can take up to stay in Greater Sudbury. That's the reason that a lot of our youth do choose to leave. In Ward 7, we have amazing resources, be they deep underground or be they fresh water in our many lakes and rivers. If we're going to be looking at developing around those sources of fresh water, some of which are the start of our fresh drinking water tributaries, we need to make sure that we're monitoring development to make sure that we are protecting the environment and to protect all of the wonderful resources we have in Ward 7.
Thank you.
This will probably be the last question from the floor. Human resources question, I'm only going to give you a minute to answer this. And it is, what will you do to motivate city employees to provide better services to citizens and business? And how will you change the culture?
Lovely, just lovely.
I think I just talked about some of this stuff. No. Our city staff, like I said, our frontline staff know so much about the jobs they do. Whether it's a worker at Pioneer Manor, a road construction worker, a person that manages the Grace Hartman Amphitheater, they know how things need to happen. We need to engage them early on in our planning processes. If we're determining that we need a project to come about in a certain area, let's talk to our frontline staff first and get their feelings, engage them in the process. And if we get communication at that level and buy-in at that level, that will make that employee feel like they really made a difference that day. Their opinion mattered, and that's how we're going to change the culture at City Hall and with city staff.
Thank you.
This was in one of my answers. Okay, so the internal website, it's going to capture ideas. So they're going to log on, they're going to get city information, benefits, all kinds of stuff, but they're going to have that great ideas section. So then I can listen to them, because they can put them in there anonymously or with an email address, and then we would have only a certain amount of time to get back to them. We need to work alongside them, and it goes back to my leadership point. Listen. Lead by example. Try to understand what makes them tick. Find out how to truly motivate them. And don't be afraid to get dirty. Work with them. Once again, don't ask them to do something you yourself will not do. And by working with them and understanding them and being a true leader under total control, they will stand behind you. And be prepared to work for them when they work for you.
Thank you.
I think we're all preaching from the same pulpit here. As far as 95% of the city staff at Sudbury are amazing people, and they work extremely hard. Some of the problems we have is putting them in positions where they cannot win. giving them rules that they cannot follow and they can't say yes to. Sometimes the safest thing to do when you're confronted with something that's happening is to hide behind saying no, and I think we have too much of that. I think it's been mentioned here already. We have to gain back the confidence of the people that are working in the city of Greater Sudbury. Some of it just started by 311 calls that are coming in now are all being taped. That's not to pick on the city staff, that's to protect the city staff from some of the abuse they take from people that do phone in and then say it's city staff fault. So it's one step to try and protect them. We've got to do more of that.
Thank you. Mr. Cruz.
We have good people that work for the city, very knowledgeable, engineers, all staff. Problems being is sometimes they don't work together or in opposition. They can't. We have to get them, and we have to do it also, is set out the priorities and work as a team using their knowledge and our knowledge. That's all I can think of right now.
Thank you very much. Those are very good questions from the floor. Really appreciate it. Closing remarks. We're going to start with you to start backwards. And the question, of course, your closing remarks is, why the heck should we vote for you?
Because you're cute? I love it.
I am a lifelong resident of Caperell who has seen the city go through good times and bad. I know that my educational background in business, my work experiences in several different businesses, my passion for customer service, and my ability to be an innovative, original thinker are assets that I bring to the position of councillor. I care about Ward 7, and I want to bring a sense of hope that our ward can once again be vibrant, like many of the residents who live within it. I am not a career politician. I'm a concerned citizen who wants to make a difference and raise issues that are shared with many others in the ward. As councillor, I will act with honesty, openness, integrity. I will tell it like it is, admit my mistakes, and I will work as hard as I can to be the most effective councillor at the table. I'm a proactive person. I'm a very good listener who listens with understanding. I will develop strong relationships with other councillors, the mayor, as well as the people of Ward 7, who I will represent, to ensure I create honest, open dialogue that will allow me to be a leader who can bring forward issues in Ward 7 in a way that are heard at the council table. Most of all, I enjoy serving people. I know how to deliver the customer service that people deserve and should expect from a councillor. I will listen to you. I will bring forward your concerns. I will help in any way possible. Even if I cannot give funds, I can give you my time, my energy, and my ideas to as many causes or organizations within the ward to ensure we get things done together.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jacobo.
Thank you, and thank you to everyone for coming out tonight to the debate. It shows the great level of participation that we have here in Ward 7, and thank you to the Greater Sudbury Taxpayer Association for holding these candidate debates this year rather than a mayoral debate. On October 27th, we have a referendum on store hours, but that vote is also a referendum on the last 4 years. You have to ask yourself, has the city moved forward? Is Greater Sudbury accountable and transparent? Have you received an equivalent level of services for the taxes you pay? And has your city and your city council listened to you and responded fairly to your comments and concerns? Speaking to over 1,500 houses, the overwhelming answer to those questions, unfortunately, is no. And that's why in 2014, it's time for change. And when you vote, whether it's online, in advance, or in person on October 27th, you need to be voting with a candidate that has the relevant work experience that is so needed on council. You need to be voting for someone who will prioritize growth and sustainability for our city and for our ward. And you need to vote for someone that will listen to all of your comments and concerns and respond to you in a reasonable time frame. So on October 27th, what I ask for you is to vote for a responsible change for the citizens of Cabriel, Garson, Falconbridge, and Skeed. And I ask for your vote for Mike Jacobo for council for Ward 7. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Pruis.
Since I have retired recently, I am now available anytime, any day, including weekends. I will fight hard for the citizens of Ward 7 to get what we need and deserve. As city councilors go, we don't have a Harry Potter magic wand here. We have to work to make a change. I will not and refuse to just sit back and let things happen. I will cause things to happen. We need a strong leader here in Ward 7. I am prepared to take on this role. At this point in time, on behalf of all candidates, I would like to thank you all for coming out to voice your concerns, issues, and opinions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. David Kilgore.
The new council of City of Greater Sudbury is going to be made up with at least 6 new faces after the upcoming election. As much as there's been a cry for change, I feel that there is also a need for consistency for people around the table who have had some experience and have shown the willingness and capability over the years of mentoring and providing support and advice to new councillors. I feel I've done that consistently and been a consistent voice offering reason and alternatives throughout my several years on municipal councils. I've worked with many mayors, councillors, and staff over the years, and I've done so with the idea in mind that we are here to govern in the best interest of the communities that we serve, and that is our responsibility to work together with a real consensus building whenever possible. For over 25 years, I believe I've served my communities well. I try not to only look at local needs, but also have an eye on the big picture that goes beyond our geographic borders and seek solutions and ideas from other cities, other provinces, and other countries. I know that I could help provide needed leadership on our new council. I know that I could act as a mentor to new people who come on to a very important job with absolutely no training and huge expectations put upon them. Thank you for being here this evening. Thank you to the GSTA for making this possible and being so fair about it, except for giving me the ace. Thank you in advance for voting, and I have to echo the other comments made by Michael and others tonight. Let's finally put that store hours thing to rest. We need 50% of the vote out there voting. And thank you, in finality, for your consideration of my candidacy to be your councillor in Ward 7. Thank you very much.
Gentlemen, thank you very, very much for being here this evening. Thank you very much for your comments and your opinions. I think all of us really appreciate it. So big hand for all of them, please. There's a couple of debates that you should be aware of. There is the Chamber of Commerce debate that's happening on October 15th at Collège Boreal. There's the October 16th Downtown Association Mayoralty Green Hall, which will be happening at St. Andrew's Place from 6 to 8 p.m. There's also a number of other council meetings, and we still have, oh God, I just had it here 2 seconds ago. Here we go. The Royal Canadian Legion for Ward 10 on Long Lake Road on October 16th, October 20th, Ward 11 at the Royal Canadian Legion on Weller. Tuesday, October 21st, it's not at Croatian Hall, it's at the Graces Church. It's for Ward 12, and Ward 9 on the 22nd, which is a Colonial Inn in Coniston. So thank you very, very much for coming out here, and I think you have some closing remarks. Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. Thanks to you all. Thank you, Jerry. Again, he's a volunteer. He's been doing a lot of these things. Does a great job wrangling this all together. So, well done. Again, he mentioned we're all volunteers. We all have jobs, families. Everyone's come out here. I think we've done a good job getting these things going. So that's been great. I really want to thank the candidates. I mean, Jerry touched on it. It's really a thankless job. A lot of work, a lot of going around the summer, knocking on doors. You might get the job, you might get the job, and if you do, sometimes maybe you don't wish you didn't get it. So it's a tough call. So I really want to thank all these guys for coming out there. It's been a great job. So our objective with GSTA is to provide a forum just for you guys can hear what candidates do. Here's who they are, here's what the viewpoints are, and you guys have an informed decision. So that's what we wanted to do. I think that's what we've accomplished. Just want to emphasize, like Jerry was saying and the candidates have said, you got to go out and vote. If you don't go out and vote, this is all for nothing. So tell your friends, tell your family. If they didn't get to come tonight, they're all going to be posted on our website in the next few days. They can actually see these debates and make their own choices. So again, thanks everyone for coming out. Then I anticipate a lot of councilors are going to stay a little bit longer. If you have any questions that did get asked during this formal forum, you can probably ask them informally. So stick around and do a little bit of mingling if you'd like. Thank you
Vote
very much.
early, vote often.
Yes. Thanks, guys.